Hello, my name is Luisa and I wanted to do a really sexy, cool YouTube video today, all about grief. Grief is something that we do not often speak about or talk about. Death is something that we don't speak or talk about in our society. I'm from the UK, so I guess I'm talking about from people around me, and it's something that I just thought it might be nice to do a little video on because. When you need to do your eyebrows, you can go on YouTube and find like a how-to eyebrow video. When you need to upcycle an old cupboard, there's a video for that. When you need to wax your bikini line without getting the bumps, there is a video for that. But when you are in so much pain and you are grieving, and yes, you can speak to a counsellor, and I highly recommend you do that, like a grief counsellor. Different to a psychiatrist or a psychotherapist, like a grief counsellor. It's very difficult, I think, to find information about grief. So I thought I would just come on here and talk about my experiences with it. So, July the 6th, 2017, our mum died of cancer. Now, our mum was never sick before. She wasn't ill at all. She was super healthy. Her health was everything to her. We thought she was going to live like many more years and outlive us all because she was so healthy. And her cancer was missed. And so by the time doctors took her seriously enough, she had stage 4 stomach and bowel cancer and she died 7 weeks later. It has been the most harrowing, life-changing experience for all of us, for me and my brothers and my sister. And loss is something that we don't really talk about. And it's different losing a parent to losing a grandparent, say, in my experience. So when you're younger, they say, oh, it's good to have a pet, isn't it? Because when a pet dies, it can teach you more about grief. And so then you lose your grandparents, and it's almost like, oh, that's your first maybe lesson of grief. But when you lose somebody, and maybe that grandparent was that person for you, who was a parent or somebody like me, it was my mum, hugely magnificent in my life, big part of my life. It's very, very difficult to navigate life afterwards. What they don't teach you is how to live without them. And it will be harrowingly painful for a long time. And I find the weirdest thing about grief, or the weirdest thing about death, is that somehow you survive it. It's so batshit, like it shouldn't work that way. I feel like when somebody dies, especially somebody that you adore and love, I felt like I should be dead. I was like, why am I still like I should be dead? I am in so much pain. I should be dead right now. And I remember taking loads of Nurofen to physically stop my heart from aching because I was in so much pain. And until I just got very tired and wheezy, I don't recommend you to do that. But I was so hurting. I didn't know how to cope with the pain. Now, what you might find if you're in your early stages of grief, it's horrific. It's painful, it's numbing, it's consuming, it's confusing. I found things like I lost my memory. I meet people and I haven't got a clue what their name is, and I'm sure I've shared a room with them before. I can't remember their name. I can't remember like birthdays or key events. I don't really care for. Sometimes I'll go to try and make a dinner that I know and love, like fajitas, and I'll forget what goes in it. I found that in the early stages of grief, my memory went and I couldn't remember things that I used to be able to. That's, I think, very, very normal. I think that's your body and your brain just trying to cope with things. I found that I didn't care for anybody. I didn't care for anybody or anything. I just didn't want to be near anyone or anything. And I found myself that I didn't care for my friends or my circle of people. I didn't want to be around them. I didn't want to be near them. I couldn't function. I couldn't give to anybody. I couldn't give a part of myself to anybody or anything. I found it very, very difficult to connect with anybody. And the only people that I could connect with were people that had already lost, because they understood. And them to me were like a beacon of light. And this is a weird thing to say. But when you are grieving, it's funny how you reach out for somebody that has also grieved as well, because they understand you, because this club is shit. This shit is a really shit club. And you're in it on your own in this dark, horrible basement room with no windows, with no way of getting out, and you want to be dead already. And then suddenly you see a friend walk in, you're like, yes, talk to me, I'm not on my own. So it's nice to connect with somebody. Please connect and talk to somebody who has also lost. Reach out to them because they get it. And people that haven't lost, you don't get it, mate. People will not get it until they've been through it, because it physically changes you. And I've had people come up to me and they'd be like, oh, I know how you feel. Like, I went through the same thing with my mum. And I'm like, oh my God, you poor thing. They're like, yeah, luckily she survived. Not the same fucking thing then, is it, mate? You will get people that will try to help and try to say things. And they will say the wrong things, because there is no right thing to say. People will say the wrong things. It's shitty, it's horrible, it's criminal, and it shouldn't happen. And the things that I have learned, or things that I have found some comfort in, is, let me tell you now, it's shit 2 years later. It's still horrible and hard. But you still get up, you still do your face, you still go to work, you still get on with things. Something that I keep clinging on to is the idea of how death is just as important as life, and death is natural. I have to keep holding on to that. Death is natural, death is natural, death is natural, death is natural. So what's unnatural is our behaviours towards it, or our attitudes towards it. I don't think we're equipped to deal with it. And it's so interesting because we talk so much about mental health, or like depression and anxiety and all these things. And there now it's very much in the public domain and talked about, which is fantastic. But grief is not depression. Grief is not anxiety. I'm sure it can trigger the same feelings, but it's not the same thing. It's a different thing. You can't take antidepressants for grief. Antidepressants are not going to stop you from the pain of longing, of losing the person that you love most in the world. Antidepressants will not do that. They might help you get up and function better with your day, but they won't actually help you do that. So I found comfort in nature and in the cyclic roles of things, and how you see nature die. Like, nature dies and then it regrows and rebirth. I see things around me die, regrow, rebirth. And I find comfort in that. I found a great deal of comfort in finding something immediately to love. So I was a mess, didn't want to talk to anybody, still am a mess, still don't want to talk to anybody, but I'm getting slightly better at it. And I went past a dog shelter, and for whatever reason I went in there, and it was nice, and I just liked being around animals. And then when my mum passed away, I bought a giant dog, and everybody was like, what are you doing? This is mental, you've never had a dog before. And I was like, my mum's dead. So they were like, get the dog, thank you. And the dog for me gave me something to get up for every day, to go for a walk, to go outside. It forced me to get up out of bed. Now, I've had depression before. I preferred depression, mate. At least with depression I had naps and my mum would bring me cups of tea. This is just shit. With depression, you often can feel so consumed and overwhelmed with your feelings. And I just remember finding it very difficult to get up in the morning. I didn't want to get up in the morning. With grief, having a dog, it encouraged me to get up in the morning. It encouraged me to get up, to get out, to get outside. I didn't have to talk to people, didn't have to socialise, didn't have to do anything of that. But just to get up and to get some fresh air. There is a lot to be said for fresh air. I know it's not an answer. I know it's not going to bring your loved one back. I know it's a lot of pain. And nothing I'm saying here is going to fix you. There's nothing in this video that's going to make you feel better. You're not going to feel better. You're going to feel crap. You're going to feel shit. Forever, apparently. But then apparently you just get better at living with feeling like shit, which is really shit. It's really difficult. And here's the other thing about grief. What's funny. When it first happens, there's almost an adrenaline, I think, associated with death or with dying. There's an adrenaline associated that you almost go into hyper mode, because it's almost exciting in terms of the chemicals that are released in your body are the same as something that is, you know, when exciting happens. So you kind of get on with things and you book the funeral and you get up and you do things and whatever. And, you know, people are around you and they try and comfort you and they bring you food, hopefully, you know. They bring you food and they comfort you in ways that they can. And there's almost a momentum to that. And the first year of my grief journey, I found that I just threw myself into work. I just went back to work, and there were moments that I felt great joy and really positive. And I was like, Mum, you'll be so proud of me. I'm going back to work. I started a charity in my mum's name, Helena's Hospice Foundation, and I found great comfort from doing that and keeping busy and really enjoyed it. And then what's been difficult is the second year, and I've heard of this a lot, is the second year of grief can be very, very painful and actually harder than the first sometimes, because the second year, everything's calmed down. People aren't reaching out as often. People are, getting on with their own lives as they should be. And you're adjusting without the adrenaline. You're adjusting to life without that person. And I found that it's been very difficult the second year, because I'm going, oh, well, I'm fine with my mum not being here. I'm fine that she's dead. Like, it's fine. But I just hate everything, and I hate the world, and I hate everyone. And I don't know why. And I've spoken to doctors, I've spoken to people, they say, oh, you're depressed, you're depressed, you're depressed. And it's taken me some time to come to terms with it. And you go, actually, I'm not depressed. I'm just very, very sad. It's just a sadness. It's a sadness that comes throughout, and it's in the background. It's a baseline always. This video is supposed to give you some hope, actually. I'm trying to reach out and give you some hope and support and a bit of light in it. A thing that I found that's very, very normal is to feel really good and to feel like, wow, I am got a new lease of life. I am living the life that they would want me to lead. I am feeling fine about everything. I'm cool. I'm all right. And then something will happen that's so mundane. Like, it's never something massive. We'll talk about something massive in a minute. It's always something small. Like, you'll forget to put salt on something. And you'll be like, oh, shit, do you remember when she used to put salt on that thing? Oh! And then grief will come and smack you and floor you like it is the day after they have just died. And you are going around with all this pain, and people are like, why are you being such a mess? What's wrong with you? Like, she died 2 years ago. And you're like, it was yesterday, God damn it. Because I think our bodies hold on to pain and hold on to trauma. And sometimes something is triggered. And what can trigger it sometimes is is the anniversary. So when you're getting close to the time where they died, I mean, I'm only 2 years in, but I'm feeling it now. It's coming close to the anniversary. And I'm feeling physically like I was similar to how I felt 2 years ago. I guess because the weather is the same, the clothes I'm wearing are the same. I mean, I don't fit in them anymore because I ate a lot of donuts, but my mum died. So, and that can trigger feelings. And so you'll feel fine. You'll feel like you're doing so well. And you'll be 6 months in, you're like, oh my God, I'm totally okay with it. Like, I'm fine. Like, I'm living my best life. And then it will hit you, and it will be like they've died all over again. And you'll be like, what? I thought I was over it. That is very, very normal for grief. Grief will do that. Grief is such a dick. It will come and it will smack you, and it will smack you just as hard as it did on the first day. And then it will pass again. And grief is something that I don't know how long it does that for, but it continues to do that. And surely there's an element in saying it's right that it should do that, because their life meant so much to you that, yes, you can move on and get on with things, but don't underestimate spending, 35 years of your life with somebody in it, and then, 2 without. That's going to be a big change for you. Something that I also found interesting and helpful is, in the sad times, you will miss them, and you will find it difficult, and you might not realise you miss them, but you will miss them. So when you are feeling lost or hurt or you're broken up, it's really difficult because you miss them, because you'd normally go to that person for comfort, for care, for all those things. But what I didn't expect was, in the happy times, when I am happy, I get really excited about something amazing will happen. I got a BAFTA Breakthrough Brit thing, for example, and I was so excited, and I cried because I was like, yay! And then almost immediately I was so upset because I couldn't tell my mum about it. And so I think you get used to that idea, that when something good happens, you celebrate it, but there is a tinge of something else there instead. I don't know what the future for grief is going to hold. I don't know how it's going to make me feel. I do know that there's lots of people that have gone through very similar things. Lots of people have lost somebody. And if they haven't, they will at some point. It's part of life. I think there is comfort in that. It's learning to live and have life while surviving death. Talk to people that have been in a similar situation. Reach out. And if there are times, especially in the early days, I found myself trying to get busy and just do stuff. if you don't want to do anything but sit and do absolutely nothing and sit in a dark room for however many days, you do that. If it's very, very early days, do not ask anything of yourself. Do not put any pressure on yourself. Do not expect yourself to be able to cope or do things. You will survive this. You will get up. You will breathe another day. You will laugh. You will cry. You will find yourself 2 years later going, how the fuck have I survived 2 years? That's 2 long years. And it's also blink and it's nothing. It's a process, and it's just something that I wanted to share with you. And if in doubt, just, I don't know, get a dog. A dog really helped me. Bernie, come say hi. Come say hi to Bernie. Yes. Yes, buddy. Come say hi. Yes. Can you see her? Can you see the doggy? Betty. Betty. Look up. Look. See? She's amazing. Say hi, you sausage. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. She doesn't listen to anything I say. And she's amazing. She doesn't stop me from missing my mummy, but she does make life more bearable. So, yeah. I hope there was something in this that brought you a bit of comfort if you're looking for it. I haven't got the answers. There are no answers. But there is conversation. We can talk about it. Will you look at the bloody camera? Look at the camera. Oh, you're so... Oh, she doesn't care. Thanks for watching. Comment, let me know what you think. Bye.